Which is the better machine for your dollar, the Honda CR-V Hybrid or the all-electric Ford Mustang Mach-E? This is not an apples to oranges comparison, and if you're considering either or both of these machines, this is the video you've been looking for. Both are roomy crossover SUVs sized for the heart of this segment, and depending on the rebates on electric vehicles where you live, and maybe your willingness to consider a slightly used model, they're both about the same amount of money too when comparably equipped. We'll run some numbers and discover some meaningful surprises in the data along the way.
For this comparison, I'm focusing specifically on the Mustang Mach-E all-wheel drive extended range, since it's more closely aligned with the CR-V Hybrid in terms of all-wheel drive capability and price. All right, so let's size them up.
When it comes to wheelbase, it's the Mustang Mach-E in the lead by 11.2 inches, 28 centimeters, or 11%. Though when it comes to overall length, the Mach-E only leads the CR-V by 0.7 of an inch, or 1.9 centimeters.
So that means the two are virtually tied on length, but that the front and rear wheels of the Mustang Mach-E are nearly a foot farther apart than they are in the CR-V Hybrid.
The CR-V Hybrid is 2.6 inches, that's 6.6 centimeters, or about 4% taller than the Mach-E, though the Mach-E is 1.1 inches, 2.6 centimeters, or 1% wider than the CR-V. When it comes to cargo space behind the rear seats, the CR-V Hybrid leads the Mach-E by 6.6 cubic feet. That's 187.6 liters, giving the CR-V Hybrid 18% more cargo space behind the rear seats than the Mach-E. When it comes to cargo space behind the first row seats, the CR-V Hybrid leads the Mach-E by 12 cubic feet, that's 340 liters, giving it 17% more capacity than the Mach-E in this dimension. That's a consistent advantage versus the Mach-E, even if the Ford has that front trunk. With no engine under the hood, it's an additional 4.7 cubic feet or 133 liters of cargo space instead. For overall EPA interior volume, the Honda CR-V Hybrid is in the lead by 32.3 cubic feet, that's 916 liters if you like, for an interior volume 24% greater than the Mustang Mach-E. And now for your passengers. On front headroom, it's the CR-V Hybrid in the lead by 1.2 inches, 3 centimeters, or 3%. For rear headroom, it's the Honda CR-V Hybrid by 1.3 inches, 3.3 centimeters, or 3.3%. But on front legroom, it's the Mustang Mach-E by a pretty significant 2 inches, 5 centimeters, or 5%. But rear seat legroom has the CR-V back in the lead by 2.9 inches, 7.5 centimeters, or 8%. These two are basically tied for front hip room, though rear hip room sees the Mustang Mach-E in the lead by 3.7 inches, 9.4 centimeters, or just about 8%. Front shoulder room, Honda CR-V Hybrid in the lead by 0.3 of an inch, or just under 1 centimeter. But on rear shoulder room, the advantage goes to the Mach-E by the exact same amount. So my biggest surprises here were the 3-inch advantage in rear legroom for the CR-V, despite the wheelbase of the Mach-E being the better part of a foot longer. There's ultimately some push and pull on passenger dimensions, but the CR-V will tend to be best for your taller passengers in either seating row, and best for your longer-legged rear seat passengers, but if you're a longer-legged driver, that Mach-E will give you 2 additional inches to stretch those legs from behind the wheel.
And speaking of stretching legs, let's get to comparing some performance.
So Honda CR-V Hybrid first, and this is a 2-liter 4-cylinder hybrid engine. It makes 204 horsepower and 247 pounds of torque. It's all-wheel drive, and this type of hybrid can't be plugged in to recharge, and makes its own electricity automatically while you drive it around. So you just put gas in the tank and go. Good time to mention that Honda's really nailed this latest hybrid engine. I'd call it the smoothest, most pleasing, and most responsive to use amongst its competitors. And the all-wheel drive system feels great in the snow with a proper set of winter tires, with loads of launch torque available at the rear axle if you need to fling some powder. And that works great with that strong off-the-line hybrid throttle response. At a similar price point to the CR-V Hybrid, you're looking at a Mustang Mach-E Premium with extended range battery, making it 346 horsepower and 428 pounds of torque. Like all electrics, the performance here is liquid smooth and ghostly quiet at all times, though drivers can turn on some synthetic sounds to listen to during acceleration if they like. So into the numbers, and it's the Mach-E with 70% more horsepower and 73% more torque than the Honda CR-V Hybrid, which is why the Mach-E does 0 to 60 just about 3 seconds faster than the Honda for the same amount of your purchased dollars. But the Mach-E can't tow. And while the Honda CR-V Hybrid's 1,000-pound towing capacity is modest, it's not nothing. So some food for thought: higher performance and faster acceleration versus a little bit of towing capacity if you need it.
I've got some food for thought for you when it comes to range, refueling, and recharging too. And if you're a little on the fence between fully electric or gas hybrid, you want to pay close attention here.
The range of these vehicles at room temperature, assuming a blend of city and highway driving, is about 480 kilometers for the specific Mach-E all-wheel drive extended range we're comparing in this video. And for the CR-V Hybrid, its combined fuel consumption rating and 53-liter gas tank give it a maximum range at room temperature of something like 780 kilometers, meaning you can drive about 63% further in the CR-V Hybrid than the Mach-E before the empty light comes on. Driving in cold temperatures will reduce the range of both vehicles, but generally more so in the electric Mach-E, and the same goes for very hot temperatures. Ultimately, your results will vary with either vehicle.
This is a good time to pose a quick and extremely important question to help you with your decision if you're a little bit on the fence. So for this next bit, keep just two numbers in mind. First, how many kilometers do you drive in a day on average? And second, how often do you drive more than several hundred kilometers at a time?
Keep those numbers in mind, share them in the comments section if you're watching on YouTube, and now let me take you through some implications. Honda CR-V Hybrid first, and this is easy. Whenever you decide to fill up, you'll stop what you're doing, pump gas into the tank, and then carry on your way for another roughly 780 kilometers, knowing that you can take its gas tank from empty to full in something like 5 minutes or less. In the Mach-E, there are some different scenarios whenever you need to charge up. Most commonly, you'll use your parking space or house as a charging station, and top off that battery slowly whenever you're not using it, or much faster if you've got a level 2 charger at home or at work. There's also level 3 charging, fast charging, which allows you to quickly charge a nearly empty battery back to the 80% mark in something like 30 minutes. Most EV drivers only use fast charging on very long trips. So while the CR-V's gas tank can go from full to empty in 5 minutes or less, the Mach-E's battery can take anything from minutes to hours to days to recharge fully, depending on what you plug it into. Most drivers will charge exclusively at home, which takes about 10 seconds to plug the car in and 10 more to disconnect it when you come back. In which case, the CR-V Hybrid driver going to the gas station once a month is definitely spending more time waiting for their car to fill up than the Mach-E driver.
But on your longer road trips, that's flipped around with the CR-V Hybrid able to refuel with gasoline much more quickly than the Mach-E can recharge its empty battery.
If you live in a northern climate like me and park outside, I'd recommend a level 2 charger at home. This can take an empty battery to full overnight, even in extreme cold, and makes it a no-brainer to ensure your car is fully charged and preheated even on the coldest days. And even if you're doing lots of long-distance commuting, it's also more efficient for your electrical bill since level 2 charging doesn't slow down as much in the cold.
So ultimately, which of these vehicles takes the most of your time to recharge or refuel comes down to how often and how far you drive, but what about the costs?
These are some interesting numbers to run, and they're based on the fuel prices and electricity rates where I live in Northern Ontario, and your results will vary.
By the way, all of these figures assume room temperature driving.
We know the CR-V Hybrid averages 6.4 liters of fuel to drive 100 kilometers. And if you drive 25,000 kilometers per year, as many remotely located Canadians do, and you pay $1.60 for a liter of gas, then that's an annual fuel cost of $2,560 and a monthly gas bill of $213 from the CR-V Hybrid. We also know the Mustang Mach-E extended range all-wheel drive needs on average 21.2 kilowatts of electricity to drive 100 kilometers. And if we use the off-peak charging rate for Sudbury, Ontario, where I live, which is 8.2 cents per kilowatt hour, then that same 25,000 kilometers of driving gives me an annual fuel cost of $435 or $36 a month. This assumes I'm only charging at home during off-peak hours, which is not entirely likely, and the hydro rate where I live during those off-peak hours is pretty cheap. In this example, I'd be spending about $177 per month more to drive the CR-V, or call it about 5 times more per kilometer than driving the Mustang Mach-E. Both models have an 8-year, 160,000 kilometer battery warranty, and if we assume that's how long you're planning to keep the vehicle, and extend our calculations out over an 8-year timeline, then you're looking at a total potential savings in my example of about $17,000.
A more realistic example for some might be to quadruple the electrical rate to 33 cents per kilowatt hour, in which case the CR-V hybrid is still going to cost you 3 times as much to run.
So hopefully that is sufficient food for thought to help guide your decision-making process and ultimately pick the vehicle that's just right for you. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss a new upload.
I'm Justin Pritchard in Sudbury, Ontario. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.